And we are live. Fanboy Modeling School. I am the Fat Mantis now in HD. I'm here with my man.
Steve, real name no gimmicks, also in HD. How the hell are you?
I am exhausted, but you know what? I feel like I complain about that way too often. I'm having flashbacks of the father I never had.
Whoa, that got dark really
Yeah.
quick.
Where he's just like, I'm tired. I just came home from work. I'm tired. That's apparently all fathers ever talk about, according to
Well, we are
television.
tired, and we are just coming home from work in most instances into what is a lot of buffoonery. Children talking about, look what I can do, and they're spitting on their heads, and you're like,
Look
what?
at me, daddy. Whatever.
Listen to me. Your real dad will be here any second now to pick you up.
Yo,
Oh,
shout out to Matt Cat, who's up in the
shout out, Matt.
stairs.
Also a
Hello,
dad.
you, brother. We've got Rogue Radio screams first. That's
Hey,
right. You
what
will
up?
always be the Fanboy Modeling School's first lady.
Hey, there it is. There it is. There it is.
Shaolin Iceboxer, the man as usual. How the hell is everybody? Mantis, your mic is a little quiet.
It is just a tad bit, just a tad.
How are we feeling now?
Good, man. Good. And before we get started, folks, shout out to RizRadio.com, your home for independent radio with all the music you love. Make sure you go check it out. Make sure you support all the great independent contributors over at Riz Radio, myself included, and catch replays of the Fanboy Modeling School there or wherever you catch podcasts, etc.
Well done. Now, question, guys. How do I sound now? Am I super low? Can't hear me?
You sound good, man. You sound good.
Watch this. Well, you can hear me. I don't think they can hear me out in streaming land.
The wide.
Girls for fanboys says, Bex, is that a new art you have up there? I love it.
Yeah, and Bex changed their name to Off That Bextasy. Okay.
There we go. That's what's up.
Yeah.
I can still barely hear Mantis.
It starts. Y'all gonna drive him crazy, man. Y'all gonna drive him nuts. While Mantis is working that out, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button for your boy and maybe hitting that share button as well. And also, we got some contributors in here, some great content creators themselves, Rogue Radio, Bex, Matt Cat. You guys want to promote your stuff, always feel free to do so.
Yo, my audio interface is hitting red levels every time I speak. Like I could be like, "What up?"
Okay.
And it's red. So
no, you're doing great, bud. You're doing fine.
Now I really don't believe it.
Could you imagine if you had coitus with a woman and she said something like that? You're doing great, bud. You're doing just
it's all
fine.
these bitches ever say. I can't believe I just revealed that.
Maximum effort.
Okay. So I'm gonna speak loudly and efficiently. Let's get into this show. You know what? We faked you guys out. The title is about London, but really we're going to talk about a lot of conservative, Christian political stuff. And you're coming on the ride with us, guys. So there you go. Team Missile, how the hell are you? Welcome.
Remember that there's a delay, Mantis. Remember that there's a delay. So people are hearing you, but they're about 3 to 4 seconds behind. All right. Okay. I could see as soon as Tim came in, and she's like, "It's low." It's like, what do I have to do to please you people? How's the tooth, big buddy? If you guys don't know, Mantis was having some tooth issues, like your Uncle Steve.
Yeah. I had it removed like a real man. I went to somebody's backyard and they ripped it out with some pliers, and then they gave me some whiskey. They said drink this every half an hour to kill the germs, and you're good.
That's what I'm talking about. No corrective surgery over here. Only real men are willing to remove the problem. Thus, why so many governments find themselves in issues that they're in now. Simply remove your problems. Wait, let me not finish that thought. We'll get there eventually, folks. I want to get into some honorable mentions, man. And I think an honorable mention I have tonight is going to carry us quite a bit of ways because we've been talking about it, but it's picking up steam. Your boy, the former creator and showrunner, writer, director, whomever of X-Men 97 wants to pitch a old man Blade movie. and even in an article gave a brief synopsis of what it was going to be. Before we get into the synopsis, which you can Google and find on your own, I'm not going to bring the article up. What are your thoughts on that, Mantis?
Okay, so Bo DeMayo, right? And so we love. So here's the thing: we love Bo DeMayo for what he did in terms of X-Men '97. Right. He seems like a straight shooter. He was let go for some mysterious reasons, and I'll tell you right now, I don't think they're ever going to hire him back. You know why? And once again, this is pure wild speculation, folks. I think he was let go because of sexy time reasons. And those are the type of reasons you don't talk about. The person who gets fired doesn't talk about. And we, the viewers, are left in the dust. As you know, Dr. Disrespect just went through that and it took years before we found the truth, right? Mm-hmm. So DeMayo, like a few weeks before he launches X-Men 97, which is like one of the greatest things X-Men has ever made, right?
Right.
Is fired and they don't give a reason. And then he doesn't give a reason. Let me tell you. When people are unjustly fired, they make a stink about it, especially on Twitter.
Right.
He didn't do it.
Right.
You know why? Because he's got something to hide. Absolutely. So he may be talking about it, but realistically, the MCU, live action or cartoon, I doubt they're going to work with him again.
Oh, absolutely not, man. Just on the grounds, the only person that's ever come back from the way world of dismal rejection and firing is James Gunn. And it turned out that was more of a timeout than it was anything else. But moving away from what's pragmatic, right? And just moving into wild speculation. I can't think of a better person to pitch this movie, man. I actually think that let me give you the synopsis. Essentially, it would pick up, I'm filling in some gaps here, but it would pick up after Blade Trinity. Do you remember at the end of Blade Trinity, Blade was injured fighting Dracula and he kind of went into a hibernation state. So instead of the way that movie concluded, which was Blade waking up on an on the morgue table and they're examining his body and he basically murks everyone in the room and then rides off into the night, he would stay in that hibernation state and he would continue hibernating only to wake up to a dystopian future where the vampires finally got it right.
This is my movie. This is the movie I pitched last week.
It is.
He is watching our podcast. I just gave this fucker my synopsis. I'm going to charge his ass.
So he wakes up to a dystopian future where the vampires have figured out Blade, day walking, which has been their primary focus since the beginning of the Blade movies, right? And now he has to reconcile the fact that not only has he aged, right? Because it was established in the movie universe, he ages like a normal person, right? Mm-hmm. But he woke up to a battle he lost. Here are some problems right off the bat. People were so happy to see Wesley Snipes back as Blade and Deadpool and Wolverine. Spoiler alert, that how are you going to explain which variant that is? I think you'll put people in a variant place unless the nostalgia carries us all. It'll carry me, right? I would go see that movie in a second. But a lot of people are going to be like, I kind of just really wanted that Blade to come back. I don't know if people would be able to handle a standalone Wesley Snipes movie that was somber and sad after Deadpool and Wolverine. This is not something they can jump into right away. What are your thoughts? I know I'm backtracking on what I said last week, but now that I'm thinking about it.
No, I think they can. I think they absolutely can. And you know what it is? Here's what it is. I think the phrase is wet the whistle. For Blade or any of these movies, right? You start getting nostalgia. You're like, I used to like Blade when I was a teenager, so therefore I must like Blade now. Right. And so I think they could do anything with Blade right now. I honestly think Wesley Snipes is the way to $1 billion and not Mahershala. Don't get me wrong. I love Mahershala.
Amazing talent.
But their inability to even put him in a cameo in Marvel is such a joke. It's such a failure. I'm ashamed of Kevin Feige. I want to say he's a racist. I want to say that. I want to go on an official record of saying that. But ultimately, I think people can deal with a somber, dark Blade. It's the movie we need. We need to do it.
Okay. All right. So let's say that Ryan Reynolds. Why are you coddling the audience, Steve? Your Uncle Steve is not into coddling everyone. I'm just trying to look at it from all the logical places that detractors would come from. So let's get into the premise, right? So here's where I want to fill in some plot holes, right? So you know what made Old Man Logan such a great read, right? Was the fact that you had Old Man Hawkeye along, right? It was a buddy cop story. You know, it's
Right.
Hawkeye trying to relive his glory days. He teams up with Wolverine. The whole thing is really about Hawkeye hearing about a superhero serum, a super soldier serum, and he wants to take it himself, right? It's not even about building new superheroes. It's partly about that, but he wants to take it himself.
He wants to get back in the game.
Yeah, he wants to get back on the saddle, right? And I'm wondering, who would you put in the film to be Old Man Blade's buddy? And I think there's one thing they shouldn't do that could screw everything up. They should not have Ryan Reynolds play an older version of Hannibal King in Old Man Blade.
I don't want to see that. Hannibal King, here's the thing. Hannibal King didn't even make an impact the first time he was on screen.
No, not at all.
Nobody wants to see that. No, don't do that.
So who would you put in there as his own? Because you can't have Whistler, right? Because Bo actually had a great idea for who should revive Blade.
So check this out. People don't know this, but in the early 2000s, they were thinking of making a fourth Blade movie, which would be a team up or crossover with the series Underworld.
Yuck.
Yeah, right?
I remember that. That.
And so obviously this is going to take some rights thing, but I think at least like a funny cameo would be the chick from Underworld.
I remember that. Way to dig into the hat on that. I remember because they were both made by New Line Cinema, right?
Yeah, right. So, which I'm not even sure if that's even a company anymore, right?
Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to pretend like I didn't love those Underworld movies. You remember I went to go see it like 5 times in the theater, and this was before Movie Pass. Are you ready to hear who Bo had as the person waking Blade up?
Who?
Dr. Voodoo and Brother Voodoo. And I thought that was absolutely genius. I was like, oh, shit. That is a 1-2 punch from hell right there. Because honestly, go ahead.
No, I'll just say that's really good. That is really good.
Because not only does it bring in Marvel's long-awaited friggin' spooky universe, right? You know, the mystical side of Marvel, but it introduces a character that I've been dying to see in the MCU, man, for a long time. Brother Voodoo, Dr. Voodoo, whatever you want to call him. He was supposed to be the guy to find Blade and help Blade bring about the demise of these new day-walking vampires. And I was like, you know what? That dog might hunt. That dog could hunt. I like it. I thought that was great, man. But as you said, man, reality sets in. And they're definitely not going to let Bo, if he's,
You know what they'll do, though? You know what these sons of bitches will do? They will steal his idea and make it with some white dude. I'm telling you they will.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like, Bryan Singer's Old Man Blade. and they're going to make Brother Voodoo not black.
Which is fine, right? Yeah,
it's colorism. Basically, they're gonna make him the lightest skinned mulatto they could find with the bluest eyes.
That would be amazing. What up, Lo? Welcome in, man.
Lo says I just came in and heard I enjoyed Underworld.
I'm
not stream is already going awry.
Yeah, when those movies first came out, Lo, back in the day, man, they were wildly popular. There's a reason they made like 8 of those things, man.
Well, for starters, Kate Beckinsale is just such a beautiful woman, but also the idea where like she's in leather, she's shooting up werewolves. That was a fun. That was a fun series. And here's the thing. People don't understand what it was like before the MCU was around. We didn't have here's what it is. Supernatural action films didn't come around very often. So you had to take what you could get, right?
Yes.
Especially ones that you at least had a good 1 or 2 good action scenes, then you're sold.
Yes. Yeah, I'll
watch this over and over again.
How many times did you watch The Crow, man? Do you remember when The Crow was the pinnacle of superhero movies?
Yes. And let me tell you guys, nothing happens, spoiler alert, in The Crow. Like, literally nothing happens. He comes back from the dead, and then it's over.
He kills a bunch of people, man. It's one of the best movies ever made, man. Are you going to go see the remake?
I'm not super into it. Yeah, here's what I'm saying. You are my canary in the coal mine.
Right.
You're going to go. If you tell me it's good, then I'll go, but I'm going to assume you're dead if I don't hear anything.
If I don't make it out the theater. The pouting crow, Lowe says. But yeah, man, I thought that would be interesting, man. I'd be interested to see who they would get to do that. I'm going to shift to my next honorable mention. And I'm speaking of crows, I'm going to eat a little bit of crow and tell you right now, I am a slave to marketing. You've heard me say that before on this show, man. Marketing, man. I saw a commercial for a Big Mac before I came down here. And even though I'm on my health journey, I was like, I want a Big Mac. I want an American Big Mac. And then I got really violent about it. I'm like, America needs to make the Big Mac great again. So I saw the leaked trailer for the Thunderbolts. And they played one of my favorite songs in the trailer. And it was a nice build up with the song in the background. And I was like, I'm gonna go see this movie. I'm gonna see. Did you watch the leaked trailer?
No. It's gonna take more than a song to get me to that movie thing.
So the trailer starts off with White Widow showing up to, what up, Dragon Lady? What about the new Beetlejuice? Yeah.
I'm gonna watch that.
I know you are, man. Michael Keaton will forever be near and dear to my heart for the first Beetlejuice. Not something I need to revisit. I'll definitely be waiting for that to come on HBO Max.
Okay.
I mean,
I can understand that though.
Unless one of the kids wants to go see it, then I'm there. Wasn't Brother Voodoo rumored to be the villain in the Blade movie played by Aaron Pierre's role before he left? Was it?
Was it? I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. Oh, they already messed up by not having Zemo on the team. Absolutely. So the trailers. Go ahead, brother.
Before you go into it, in terms of what Shaolin is talking about right now, here's what they should have done for Thunderbolts. And so I'm going to give you guys a quick history of the Thunderbolts, just because I'm like self-conscious. Can you guys let me know if you can hear me loud and clear? I changed my settings. Hopefully it's all set. But no one ever got back to me on that. So here's the deal. What they should have done. And so here's what it is. People don't know the history of Thunderbolts. The Thunderbolts right now in the comics, and for years now, for a fair amount of years, have been a Suicide Squad ripoff, where the government forces them at gunpoint or bomb point or whatever to do to do tasks for them. And if you do enough tasks, you earn your freedom, even though they're a villain, right? They're a villain in prison. That's a concept. Complete ripoff of Suicide Squad, not even trying to cover it up. However, that is not what the original volume of Thunderbolts was about. And so right after Avengers Disassembled, where the world believes the Avengers are dead, a new team of heroes appeared called the Thunderbolts. And they were superheroes no one had ever seen. And they came out, there was a #1, Thunderbolts #1, the new heroes of the Marvel. And you're reading it, and they're just these do-gooders or whatever. And it's Citizen V, a patriotic superhero, is their leader. And at the end of the comic, he takes off his mask. And it's revealed that it's Baron Zemo. And every one of his superheroes is a villain in disguise. And they just change their costumes and marketing.
Right. Yeah.
And they did this disguise for a while until the Avengers come back and have to mess them up. That they should have had the Thunderbolts be the very next movie after Endgame.
Absolutely, man. And to take it a little bit further, you're talking about Siege, right? So here was the lineup for the Dark Avengers. You had Dakin, Wolverine's son, being the new Wolverine. You had Bullseye taking on the mantle of Hawkeye, which is absolutely brilliant.
Brilliant, perfect.
You had Norman Osborn taking over as the Iron Patriot / Iron Man. You had, I forgot who the chick was that was pretending to be Captain Marvel.
It's Moonstone.
Moonstone.
That's actually a perfect fit.
Then you had the fake Venom, not Eddie Brock or Peter Parker being
Agent
Spider-Man.
Venom or whatever. Yeah.
No, it wasn't Agent Venom. It was some crazy guy. It was a crazy guy that had who becoming. Yeah. This is a weird space in Spider-Man and Venom lore. This guy is the forgotten symbiote holder. And literally the symbiote itself had gone crazy for a little bit. It's a strange thing. And then you had Sentry on the team. Which was
even though he was an Avenger before, he still remains because he's just that kind of a dick.
Yeah. This was a stacked team, man. It was a stacked team.
But ultimately, I agree with Shaolin. It should have been that they're the imposters trying to be the new heroes and take the role of the Avengers. It's perfect. Endgame broke up the Avengers. That would have been perfect to do it. But it's clear that Phase 4 and clearly Phase 5, there's no plan. There's nobody in the driver's seat. This thing is moving and they don't understand how or where it's moving, but they're just going for the ride, right? And so they're not making sequels to things. They're not making sequels particularly to successful things. There's no rhyme or reason. But if you look at the other phases 1, 2, and 3, there was a rhyme and reason. And I like that it always ended on an Avengers film.
Yeah, absolutely. Except
they need to do that. They need to keep doing that.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm already pissed that they don't have Baron Zemo, right?
Right.
But not only that, they have a group of villains that I just don't care about. And the real reason is they've killed all their good villains, and the only villains who have lived are these C-listers.
Right. And I agree with that assessment 100%. I do want to leave the door open for the fact that Baron Zemo could be the big reveal and not the Sentry in this. And that would be amazing if he was somehow the big reveal. So here's what it starts off with, since you're not going to watch the trailer, brother, or you're going to wait till the actual trailer comes out.
Yeah.
White Widow shows up to Red Baron or whatever this guy's Red Patriot. What's this guy's name? The Russian Captain America?
Yeah. What is it?
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the red asshole. I don't know.
She shows up to his apartment, right? And he's still living in squalor.
Red Guardian or something.
Red Guardian. Yeah, he's living in squalor. They start having a conversation about meaning and does he feel like he has purpose? And then it cuts over to U.S. agent sitting at home with a baby crying, reading an article or watching a news clip about him being a brutal murderer after basically decapitating.
Americans are ungrateful. That man fought for his country.
And then we pick up with them all at a lab, and it looks like they've all been sent on a mission to execute someone or terminate someone. It's him, Ghost, Taskmaster, and White Widow. And actually, the little squabble scene that leads up to them finding Bob, we all know who Bob is actually pretty cool. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm kind of vibing with this, man. Like I said, I don't have any high expectations, but it'd be interesting to see where they take this whole thing, man.
So Matt says, I'll be right back. Gotta go watch the leak trailer. Lowe says, I hope I never see Brie Larson again in a Marvel film unless it's her humiliating, disgraceful death.
Oh.
Matt says Thunderbolts looks good. I'm assuming after he saw the trailer.
Boom.
When are we getting multicultural Hulk film?
Multicultural Hulk.
Enjoy the Dark Avengers.
Who the fuck is Bob? Bob is the Sentry. The Sentry has the most regular guy name. His name's Robert something, but everyone calls him Bob.
Yo, it's like Robert Reynolds. I'm deadly serious. Right? So he could be Ryan's brother. And so he has this whole thing, but like, here's the thing. I want to see Sentry, and I think if they cast someone cool as the Sentry, I'd be into it. But like, I've looked this actor up, and like, he's just like a bland, like, no offense, guys, white guy. You know what I mean? He's just very basic.
Yeah.
And there's nothing going on, and I'm like, this is supposed to be the Superman counterpart, and they didn't bother. They just hired anybody, and so then I looked up the director of this, and I think he's only done 2 or 3 other films. No big hits.
Perfect. We don't need any more artists in the MCU. Perfect.
No, well, we need to know someone who can actually do an action film, because look at some of these films that they're doing, and this is the problem. The people who are getting the jobs to direct Marvel films are another part of the problem.
But remember, the Russos were nobodies. They were straight up nobodies.
And you know what? They are the exception, not the rule. And so they're giving all these nobodies, Chloe Zhao and like these people, weirdos, like, people who have never directed an action film. And they're like, here's $200 million, make a Marvel movie.
So I think the reason that they do that is because Marvel's had a long-standing procedure, which is you can direct a film, but you won't have any parts in directing the action. They have action directors that take over for that. So,
but I will say this, and I agree with you that it does work well, but the problem is, tonally, if the film doesn't understand action, it's going to be weird. And I'm going to direct you to the Eternals, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. The movie is like artistic and slow, and people just keep looking at each other. They look at each other with feelings. They go like this. and then suddenly action breaks out. And
Right.
it makes no freaking sense. And you could tell that the Russos love action films. Look what they did with some of these films. They
Right.
understand military. They understand macho men. They understand how people stare each other down, how they prepare for fights, how they live a warrior culture. And these people, other people, are just missing that.
Right.
And so the Russos they didn't get lucky. They're talented. But what I'm saying is they're the exception. That these, they had a couple of sitcoms under their belt. It's so weird that they were able to pull off what they did.
No, absolutely. I agree 100% with that, man. The biggest problem with the Eternals was it overpromised and underdelivered on some key aspects. And I think maybe we bought into that, but that's not our fault because, again, marketing, right? So Icarus, right? Icarus was being shown as this kind of like brutal type of character, and we all got the vibe that he was going to be brutal. As soon as we saw him shoot lasers and his eyes were golden, I was like, oh, this motherfucker is going to be a problem. Like, it's clear that he's going to turn out to be the villain in this film. And if you know anything about like the Eternals, they get the memories wiped, blah 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 blah, all this shit. That is definitely bad. But I am saying just this: watching this brief snippet, which is the leaked trailer for the Thunderbolts, it managed to pique my interest because there is a formula I enjoy with these type of teams where they're sent on a suicide mission. It's right. It's supposed to be these B-level heroes, right? It's supposed to be, this is what they're doing. I just want to see what's going to happen because there's a good setup for U.S. Agent, right? There was a fairly decent setup for the White Widow. There's a fairly decent setup for characters. Like, you got two throwaway characters like Taskmaster and Ghost. And let me just talk about Ghost for a second. That actress was actually pretty cool in Ant-Man 2, man. Like, the Ghost portion of that was, I enjoyed her scenes, to be honest with you. I thought she was a fairly good assassin. So I'm interested to see where they're going to take us on this little ride, man. That's all I'm saying, man. Just don't jump down my throat, bro. All right?
I'm not. You enjoy that. That movie.
Day one, me and you.
Here's basically one of my my 3 rules to making a superhero movie, which they just don't understand for some reason. Kevin Feige and them just don't understand this, but it actually mathematically corrects. I've checked it off. My theory works, right? And so, but they're so mindless. The fact that they don't understand this is insane. So number one, you have to have a fan base. You have to have a character that actually has fans.
Right.
So when you make a movie like The Eternals or a show like Echo or Miss Marvel, you already know it's going to be bad because they don't have fans.
Right.
You need Spider-Man. You need Superman. You need Batman. You need the Avengers. People who buy comics because they're all going to show up and they're going to bring friends or loved ones or whatever. They're basically your marketing team, right? So the more you make characters that have no fan base, the less likely it's going to do well. And so what do these characters have in common? They don't have a fan base. They're like, it's the second Black Widow. Yeah, right. It's not even the real Black Widow. They're like one of the villains from an Ant-Man movie. Yeah, right. Like, that's street cred.
Right.
Right. And so it goes on and on. They're like, the wacky dad from Black Widow. I'm like, I like him. Would I pay $20 to see him? No. Right.
I got you, man. I got you. You've been hurt. You've been hurt. We've all been hurt. We've all been hurt. Go ahead.
Number two, you have to have an amazing villain or at least storyline that comes from the comics. And I'll tell you, all the biggest money makers have some basis in a storyline or have a villain that is a high attraction. We're talking about Thanos, right?
Right.
We're talking about the Joker. Notice how the Joker does better than a movie with Bane. You know why? Everyone loves and hates the Joker. They will show up for a Joker movie every time. Okay. And so when you make the movies like the Marvels or whatever, where there's a villain that nobody knows who the hell it is,
didn't know who that bitch
no
was.
one is gassed up on it. Even the fans aren't gassed up.
Yeah.
When people are like, who? And then the third rule of making it is you have to cast either the mentor or the villain with a well-known actor that already brings people in. We're talking Anthony Hopkins as Odin. right? We're talking about almost every Iron Man villain has already been an established, an established actor on some way. We're talking about Jeff Bridges. We're talking about who was the fake Mandarin guy?
Oh yeah, Gandhi. Yeah.
Yes, Gandhi, right? The white Gandhi. And so, I'm saying, I'm at a loss for thinking of these actors, but these actors are all over the MCU,
Right.
and they bring even Robert Redford in The Winter Soldier.
Right.
He
That was a
brought extra
great
tickets. It made it feel like a realer mover and a bigger movie and a bigger deal. And so, if
Yeah.
you don't have those three segments, you are going to have a box office flop. You want $1 billion? You follow those three things. And for some reason, Kevin Feige doesn't know these rules. Like, he hasn't done this 25 times.
Ben Kingsley is who you were thinking
There
of.
we go.
Ben Kingsley. I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you, man. I think right now, preliminary early stages, what Marvel needs to continue to do is lean into the darkness of it, right? So here's what I'm hoping for. You really enjoyed that scene in Falcon and the Winter Soldier where U.S. agent splits that dude's wig, chops his chest open.
I love it.
I want you to know that in this leaked trailer, that man's got a gun and he's going full throttle trying to kill White Widow. And I don't mean like MCU trying to kill someone. It is clear he's trying to kill.
Right.
He learned nothing from his last outing. Like, they sent him home to be with his family and he came back still ready to kill. Right. So I'm looking forward to those type of hijinks. And it's early, man. I believe in your formula. I believe there's also a formula they can follow after Deadpool and Wolverine, which is people appear to want to come to these movies to have a good time. They come for violence. They come for a story. And let's give them that, right? Now, I think what would really help this movie, if it does turn out that the Sentry is like the big bad or he is the character being introduced, and this will probably make Lo happy and this will definitely make Matt happy, I would love for Sentry to be shown as this indomitable force, like just this monster of a superhero like we've never seen before. And then I would love for him to humble Captain Marvel. Now, this is not going to happen, right? Because they're not going to let a man put paws on their female character. But we all know silently she's done in the MCU. Like, she's done. In a perfect world, wouldn't it be great to watch the Sentry just throttle that bitch? And then for all you Captain Marvel shills, and there's a lot of them out there. I want you to remember that beautiful moment.
Yeah, they're male feminists.
Yeah, exactly. My favorite moment in Endgame is when she's holding Thanos' hand open with the gauntlet, and then he's just like, okay, bitch, and takes the power gem out and punches her. She goes flying. I thought that was amazing.
So here's what it is. I absolutely agree with you, and this was my treatment for Captain Marvel too. I do think it would be very satisfying to watch her throttled. However, I think another woman should do it instead of a man, because that is bad imagery. If a man beats the crap out of her, here's what I'm saying: a man can beat her, but if he beats the bloody crap out of her, it will be a bad image. It will be a bad image, and that's why they needed in Captain Marvel 2 to introduce the Brotherhood of the Evil Mutants, and they needed Rogue at the end of that movie to zap her of all her energy and just toss her off a bridge, man, and be like, "You're trash."
That would have been amazing.
That would have been amazing. What people who hate her would show up just to see that.
You know what would have been great too, man? What if we get Sentry beating her down and She-Hulk? Because we're gonna talk about some emergency awesome level type rumors here, man. Apparently, wouldn't that be great if Sentry just beats them both within an inch of their life?
My God, this would be the incel party of the year. Okay.
So
I'm not against it.
Are you up to speed on all the Brie Larson's mad at Ryan Reynolds? The actress from She-Hulk is mad at Ryan Reynolds for their cameos not being included in Deadpool. I'm surprised this has not come across your timeline. I get inundated with videos of how they feel betrayed and Marvel will put their support, and none of this is actually confirmed. This is just YouTubers,
You know what I did? I saw an article about how the girl who played Jean Grey was upset that she wasn't even asked to do a cameo. And
the chick from Game of Thrones? That one or the old one?
No, the old one, the original one. And I'm like thinking, for starters, you old bitch. but also, it's like it's people act like he's required to put them in his movie.
Right.
And only things that work should show up in his movie. Obviously, you know what? With these other people that they're bitching, there's probably was too many cameos. He probably was like, "There's too many cameos. We need to cut some of these back."
Yeah, I mean, but at a certain point, does it need to go any further than it's not working? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, just think about that for a second, right? What point would it be to have Carol Danvers in this movie, man? The movie's awesome.
What doesn't make any sense?
Unless she's getting done like Johnny Storm, I don't want to see her in this movie.
Wait, Shellen says, Mantis, you don't like Emergency Awesome? No, I like Emergency Awesome. I do.
Is Emergency Awesome not the guy that lies all the time?
No, that's Mike Zero.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mike Zero. Mike Zero
is the liar. Emergency Awesome is a cool dude.
Yeah,
okay. But I don't know, man. That's crazy. I don't even know where they would fit in a cameo.
What point would they serve?
She-Hulk and Captain Marvel?
Who cares? Like, but it would be amazing if they were actually upset about this. I think this is just more BS that's floating around the internet. Hey, what was the beautiful black woman's name from Loki? The evil one with the curly hair. What's that broad's name? I'm sorry, that woman. What's that woman's name? You know what I'm talking about?
The blonde?
No, not the blonde. Not Sophie. She's not beautiful. I'm talking about the black woman, the one that was like a judge, and she's was working with He That Shall Remain, and then she.
Right. She's Kang's princess, or in the comics,
yeah,
Kang's princess. You saying the actress's name? I don't know.
No, just the character. Apparently she's dead, right? I was thinking about that today before we went to the show. Not the actress, the character. The character's dead.
Oh, man. Right. She got eaten by what's his face.
Yeah, and all these people were like, "No, she definitely made it." I think Grace was one of those people that just dawned on me at a certain point. I'm like, "Nah, I don't think that bitch is alive."
No, it was a complete. This is why I totally thought the series was ended. Not just this, but that added to it. She was dumped into limbo, and then suddenly she hears the crack of lightning. There's light, and she looks up and she's scared. That's him. What? Allah. Yeah, whatever his name is, smoke monster, eating her ass. Matt Cat says, does Julia Louis Dreyfus count as one of those cameos I talked about? No, and here's the thing. Don't get me wrong. She's big, and people like her. She is not as big as Ben Kingsley or Robert Redford. These guys aren't Anthony Hopkins. These guys have been in the industry for so long, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, they literally print money, their names. Right. She's just a regular level actress who, she's doing well. I'm not trying to shit on her, but she's not their caliber.
That's the woman from Seinfeld, right?
Yeah.
Ravona, that's the name. Yeah, Ravona. Thank you so much.
All these crazy black names.
All right.
You saw the video I sent you on Instagram?
No, what'd you send me, man? What did you say?
Somebody did a similar video. Actually, we should show everybody.
I'll get it. I'll queue it up.
Yeah, it's on Instagram.
You sent it to in our group chat?
Yeah.
This is what I love about lives, right? We don't have to be polished. We can just go right into the madness. Let me just broadcast everything that we talk about. Oh, wait. No. Let's see here. Keep the people entertained, you psychopath.
But anyway, it's very clear that Brie Larson is not going to want to do. I think she's stepping back from the role. I don't think she wants to be seen again. I bet she might do one or two cameos or small roles of Captain Marvel. But I think her career as a superhero is done.
As it should be, man. As it should be.
It's really been bad. It's been a bad ride. And you know what? I don't blame her. Well, I do blame her. I wouldn't have cast her. I would have cast out.
No.
I'm going to sound like a horrible person. I would have cast a far prettier Captain Marvel.
No,
have you seen some of these deep fakes? Like Margot Robbie looks amazing as her. Or Charlize Theron. Oh my God, she would have made an amazing one. But they do deep fakes really good, over her. And I was like, they picked the wrong actress.
Yeah, I don't know what the thinking was there, man. But remember, Margot Robbie, how hot she was didn't help Suicide Squad 1, and it definitely didn't help Birds of Prey.
No, it did. They did. I don't even understand why it didn't help. You know what it is. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. All the marketing that you do fools people to go for the first couple of days.
Right.
But then word of mouth is so important. So here's what it is. You can have a big opening, but then people will be like, yo, that movie sucked. And if everyone says it sucks, people will stop going.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's what happened to Suicide Squad, because I think we were all gassed on Suicide Squad.
Oh, I was there opening night, man. Went to the theater in Santa Ana, California. And when I walked out, I made sure I put on Facebook, that was a complete waste of my time. Please don't make the same mistake. And no one.
And so I think everybody did that. And so that's why it started to die, right?
Right.
I think, yeah, but I think initially her beauty definitely helped. Did you find it, or?
Yeah, I sent it to you. I sent it to you in Discord. Also some sad news. We're probably going to get into at some point prior to the, or I guess it falls in honorable mentions. For all you Paramount lovers, apparently they're tapping out and they're calling it quits. That's it for Paramount, man.
God. It's a Star. They're having CBS Studios make Star Trek now. They're gonna keep the Star Trek shows, but they're gonna they handed the Star Trek movies off, shows off, and they're like, everything else is, you're out of luck.
Yeah,
people putting up help wanted signs and shit. It's like crazy. We'll work for food or whatever. Shutting it down. They're Paramount, even though they're still a Paramount Plus, is not making any original content. They also closed down Cartoon Network.
Yeah,
they own it.
Yeah.
This is horrible, man.
And apparently that show, Mayor of Kingstown, which is apparently an amazing show everyone loves. I hope it gets picked up by someone else, man. Guilty pleasure of my wife and myself. We watch SEAL Team. Amazing show. We're watching it for the last season. That's done.
Yo, real quick, where did you send it to me?
I sent it to you in Discord in our private chat. Oh no, I didn't. I sent it to fucking chopped cheese by mistake. There you go.
What is chopped cheese?
Chopped cheese is our good friend Nakai.
Oh, okay.
There you go. I hope JJ Abrams never does another Star Wars project. Yeah, I would agree with that, man. I would agree with that. But pretty soon it's just gonna be the Mouse House, and once Sony gets bought out by Apple, it'll just be Sony and Disney going back and forth.
So that's the thing. Like, what is up? Who will be left to actually make this content? It's gonna be Netflix and Disney, basically, right?
Essentially, man. Essentially, bro. And Amazon. Let's see if Amazon stays in the fight, because after oh my goodness, man. I gotta talk to you.
Batman?
No, not Batman. I gotta talk to you about House of Dragons, man, and a theory that I saw earlier. Apparently, you said everyone hated the last episode?
Yeah.
Well, there's a portion of the internet that loves it, and they're making wild predictions about the White Walker King and all that shit, but we'll get into that at some point later. It's not
I'm telling you, it was almost universally panned. People were up in arms. Other YouTubers have literally made videos about how much people hate the finale. Yeah. It's wild. I mean, I hated it, so I'm one of them. But
The Dynasty.
DA3. The Travion.
Quinn, Jay Quinn.
You meant Draquintralicia?
QRT.
It's Courtney.
Easy Kyle.
Hey, bro, it's Ezekiel.
XZY.
Man, it's Xia.
Oh my God, big Trey.
It's Demontre.
Is this a DAS? A DAS?
Dacity.
Thirstina.
Thirstina?
Shady.
there you go, guys. First day of school at a black school. That's how it goes down.
Oh, Beck says, "Who the f loved that finale, man?" Do you
who liked that finale? Let's talk about it for a minute. So yeah, that was pretty.
You do your thing for a second. Let me go find this poor soul so you guys can tear him up.
Yeah, please. Let's rip this dude up. So this season has been so bad, it has made me want to quit being someone who watches it on the regular. It's really that bad. And so there's a lot of boring episodes. They had maybe 2 good episodes. They were both dragon centric. But the finale of House of the Dragon was literally a 70-minute preview for the next season, which isn't 2 or 3 years away.
Right.
And I want to see them fight. They're supposedly at a war. Where is the fighting? There's one good fight so far.
Bro, here's the thing though. I told you, man. I told you, and I believe this to be true, man. When your universe heads in one direction, and that direction is towards a hated finale, there's no way of saving it, man. There's no way of saving it. All right, I'm gonna send it to you. This is a theory crafter, man. And again, let's take this with a grain of salt, but he's a part of this contingency of people who actually enjoyed that finale. That I don't know how else to pull it, but how else to put it to you, man.
Yeah, Matt says, "See, I don't f with people that have effed up names." That's a good way to live. Team Islam says, "I'm out. Hope you all having a great evening." Yeah, you too. You have a good one. Thank you for
Have a
stopping
good
in.
one, Tim.
It was giving filler episode. Totally.
Absolutely, it was. All right, I sent you the link. I'm sorry that you were disappointed by that, Bex, but there's always chance to jump on The Last of Us. That's that's a ship that's not sinking, man. It's gonna be good stuff. Next season should be amazing.
You know what? I heard they're gonna do though.
What?
They're gonna drag out, probably because they want to give him the whole season. They're dragging out the second game, either 2 or possibly 3 seasons long.
That would be a wild mistake, man. That would be a wild mistake.
And so, you know what it is? I think they're trying to keep what's his face in the show.
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, because we know, spoiler alert, he has a reason to leave really early on in the game.
Yeah, he gets his head brutally bashed in by a very hulking looking woman.
I remember Steve. I mistakenly called that woman a lesbian. You're like, she's not a lesbian. There's a scene of her get banged by a dude right in there, and I was like, okay, my bad. She's not a lesbian.
I mean, we got to critique it and be honest, man. We got to.
No, you're right. You're right. But I'm saying she's a very muscular woman. Yo, you know who she is? She's a Lana Marr from the United States rugby team.
Oh,
Have you seen that big chick?
Yo, I love Alana Moore. She's hilarious, man.
I do love her. I'm not gonna lie. I do love her, but I understand why she scares men. I do understand.
If you guys weren't weak red pillars, you'd be able to take down a woman with a big back.
She just might be too much woman for me. Okay, let's see what this guy has to say about this show.
The hour-long trailer for Season 3 of House of the Dragon, aka the second season's finale, was undoubtedly and breathtakingly awesome, but didn't really feel like the finale. We get a major nod to Game of Thrones, and several questions are answered through Daemon's vision about the future of his house. In the sequence, there's Brynden Rivers, aka Blood Raven, who was the three-eyed raven who basically trains Bran. There was what seemed like Daemon's death through drowning. We get to see Daenerys and her 3 dragons. But the topic of today's discussion is the White Walker, or the Night King, Daemon saw in his vision. I'm saying White Walker or Night King because I think it could be either of those, and Daemon could have a major connection with the army of the dead. So without further ado, let's explore everything there is to explore about Daemon being the Night King. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request.
If they do that, that would be wild.
Please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot.
God,
Thank
that
you.
would be
Let's
wild.
begin.
I told you.
Is Daemon the Night King? Well, here's where it gets interesting. I believe Daemon could potentially be the Night King, although it would make more sense for him to turn into one of the White Walkers, the generals of the Night King. But I believe before getting into that, it would be more prudent to look into why he cannot be either of those things. So, according to Westerosi legend, the Night King lived during the Age of Heroes, shortly after the Wall was completed. He was the 13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, and to put it in perspective, Jon Snow was the 998th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. Anyway, so the Night King, when he was still a human, became...
Wait, real quick. I just want to say this. And he's giving a good point, but what he's giving is, and this is what people make a lot of mistakes, and I do it all the time, especially with comic book properties. He's giving history that is in the books, which is not necessarily canon to the live action, because they sometimes change things.
You've made this point a billion times, man. I don't disagree with you. Once there's a live action property, that winds up becoming the canon, whether you like it or not.
Right, because
So,
more people are watching and engaging with it and stuff.
yeah.
And so, here's what I'm saying: they could certainly just ignore that original origin that the books gave him, and then make him Daemon. I mean, that would be wild.
Infatuated with a mysterious woman he spotted from the top of the wall. Her skin was as white as the moon, her eyes shone like blue stars, and her touch was as cold as ice. Undeterred, he pursued her, caught her, and fell in love. When he gave himself to her, he not only gave his seed, but also his soul. The Night King brought this woman back to the Night Fort, declaring her his queen and himself her king. Using dark sorcery, he enslaved the brothers of the Night's Watch to his will, ruling the Night Fort for 13 years with his corpse queen at his side. During his reign, unspeakable horrors were committed, and tales of the dark times still circulate in the north. It wasn't until Brandon the Breaker, the king in the north, and Joramun, the king beyond the wall, united their forces that the Night King was defeated and the Night's Watch was free. After his downfall, it was revealed that he had been making sacrifices to the others. In response, all records of him were erased, and even his name was banned and forgotten. So, if the Night King became the Night King so far back in time, there's little reason to believe that Daemon could end up as the Night King. I mean, these events took place thousands of years before the events of House of the Dragon, and Daemon is not an immortal. However, according to the book, the Night King was destroyed and all his records were deleted from history. So, is it possible that the Night King we see in Game of Thrones is not the original Night King, as in this 13th Lord Commander? I think it's plausible. That's point number one. The second point is that George R.R. Martin does not consider the White Walkers, aka the others, dead. He was once quoted, "The others are strange, beautiful. Think the Cid made of ice." Something like that. A different sort of life. Inhuman, elegant, dangerous. In fact, in the book, the Night King had been making sacrifices to the others. If we look at these 2 points in unison, we will come to know that the Night King initially served the others in some capacity, maybe as someone they needed to get souls and sacrifices, and eventually he took them over. Is it also possible that the Night King's position was something that was enjoyed by several Night Kings? I mean, Mr. Martin believes that the others are not entirely dead, right? So maybe they also have a structure to their hierarchy and polity. If the others, or the White Walkers, are indigenous...
You know, just like he said, Jon Snow is the 998th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. Could Night King just be a title that they keep passing down to different dudes?
Yeah, but I think they established fairly early, not fairly early, towards the end of Game of Thrones, how this guy came to be. Those little imp women made him.
right.
He was it looks like he was just some poor bastard they captured.
Yeah, he didn't look like a Lord Commander. He looked like a nobody. He's just a random dude.
He's just minding his business, walking around drinking ale, and he gets attacked by midgets.
And for those who don't watch the series or don't know, the scene literally looks like it's like a gang grape scene, because he's tied to a tree, and they all like surround him and they're looking at it. And I was like, where is they? Because, you know, Game of Thrones has grapes all the time. And I was like, where are they going with this?
Untouched people who want to rule the world, it would make sense for them to have a hierarchy. This is why there is a king, and there are his generals, who do his bidding. And finally, there are undead foot soldiers who are commanded by the White Walker. I'd like to believe that Daemon, after his plunge into God's Eye, somehow managed to walk out of there, or was pulled by someone. We've already seen evidence of the Green Men, the mystical forest dwellers, who are basically the protectors of the Isle of Faces in the Riverlands. Because of their presence, I am inclined to believe that Daemon would make it out of the battle above the God's Eye alive. Not wanting to go back to that same old life of war and politics, he would journey up north and beyond the wall, where he would get taken by the White Walkers and made to convert into one of them. This seems very plausible and doesn't really hurt the already existing arc. Yes, you may say that the Night King turns infant boys of Craster into White Walkers, but there were several of them with the Night King. I'm not sure if these infants grow in size gradually to become adult White Walkers, but it seems plausible, which also means that there were many who were converted into the White Walker.
I mean, they'd have to be, because we never see any babies again. So, like, he's got an army of baby White Walkers hanging out. Like, I think it's assumed they grow up, right?
That is
before
absolutely
Craster was
huge
even
plot hole.
born, which in turn makes Daemon's entry as a White Walker more plausible, if not probable.
Beck
One
says they're
thing that
pissing
still
me off.
remains convoluted is the fact that the Night King we see in Game of Thrones is the Great Other, or a version of him. This guy was supposed to be like the opponent of the fire god that Melisandre and others worship. This is why it would be easier to turn Daemon into a White Walker instead of the Night King. Furthermore, in the battle beyond the wall, where Daenerys loses one of her dragons, you can see several White Walkers. A few of these have long hair, similar to that of Daemon's. In fact, their armor also resembles what Daemon usually wears to battle.
Wait, does it? I don't know about that.
What's the basis behind the
their armors
Daemon
aren't
being
similar.
the Night King theory, according to Reddit and other sources? As soon as Daemon puts his hand on the bloody sap of the weirwood tree, he gets pulled into a series of visions. Well, this theory began to surface nearly 2 years ago, and since then has spread like wildfire. The crux of the theory back then was two-pronged. First, people still believed that Targaryen dragon riders, at least a few of them, had immunity from fire. Daenerys was immune to fire, and she proved it time and again. And so is the Night King. Even dragonfire couldn't hurt him. So people believed that he had to be a Targaryen. But we have to understand that Dany was a real special case.
Yeah,
her
not all
immunity from
Targaryens
fire
are
was rooted
fireproof.
deep in several kinds of magic. Yes, as a Targaryen, she might have some abilities. For instance, people like Aegon the Conqueror and Daenerys the Dreamer had the ability to foresee the future. Queen Helena is pretty much a superpowered being, as she can appear before other people in real time and exist in two places at once. Anyway, none of the other Targaryens in either of the shows have proven to be fireproof. Daenerys was immune because of the blood magic and sacrifices that Mirri Maz Dur performed at Dany's behest. So she was an extremely special Targaryen. That's all. Anyway, some believe that the Night King's fireproofing makes him a Targaryen. But why Daemon? Why not anyone else? Well, this one's basis is Daemon's fate in the book. Spoiler alert if you haven't read the book. So in the book, Daemon and Aemond fight a battle over the God's Eye, one of the largest lakes in Westeros, which lies just beside Harrenhal. Here, Daemon on Caraxes and Aemond on Vhagar take up to the sky just before dawn and dance with their dragons. A dance that was so violent and wild that the locals feared the sky had been put to fire by the dragons. Caraxes and Vhagar mortally wounded each other, but when Daemon realized he could lose, he did the most daring thing ever and jumped from his dragon and onto Vhagar. Daemon sticks his Valyrian steel sword into Aemon's eye, and with enough force for the sword to come out from the back of Aemon's head. All four of them fell into God's Eye, and although the bodies of Aemond, Vhagar, and Caraxes were found many years later, Daemon's body was never really found. So people basically connect these two theories, and
Yo, you know what's messed up? When they say that, it totally makes sense that that's how Daemon's gonna go out. The only other, Daemon's a G, and Aemond is the only other G.
I'm already
Right?
lost. Damon's the one with the eye patch, or which one is he?
Daemon is the one they're talking about here. Matt Smith, and then Aemond is the one with the eye patch.
Oh, gotcha.
And they're the only two real men in the story. They're like real warriors, right? Makes sense they kill each other. But you realize that Aemond, the eye patch boy, is his nephew.
Yeah.
I'm mad. I would be really vexed. No offense if they're listening. If my nephew's murdered me. that oh my God, you're a beta. Only betas let their nephews kill them.
It's on its way, bro. You got to be prepared. I assume one of my three sons is going to be my my demise.
That's what I'm saying. Because I don't have sons, it's going to be one of my nephews who murder me.
surmise that Daemon could be the Night King, but there are several discrepancies in this theory. So that was my opinion
Bex,
on
I
why
want to know why
Daemon
this is
could be the
pissing you
Night
off.
King or a White Walker. Of course, I might be absolutely wrong, but I do welcome a healthy debate, and you know where to let me know in the comments below. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like.
It was all right. I kind of liked your content.
Yeah. I gave him a like.
I didn't.
I mean, I thought you Game of Thrones fans would really enjoy that, man.
I did enjoy that because when I was looking through the prophecies, I hate visions. I hate visions.
Yeah.
I hate cryptic visions in stories. They're just Such a waste of my fucking time. I do not have time to analyze a vision. I want the creators of the show to tell me what's going on. I should have to do homework to figure out the story. Right.
That is the exact opposite reason that I came here. I did not come to work. I came for leisure.
Right, yeah.
Be entertained.
You do the work. You explain to me what you're trying to say.
No audience participation, bro. We got an hour left in the show. At what point do you really want to dash people's hopes and dreams, man? Because your boy Donald Trump went live with your other boy Elon Musk on X last night. And yes, just for those that were keeping tabs, Deadpool did cross the $1 billion mark and is supposed to pass the Joker sometime this week. So, shout out to them. You ready to take a shit on society?
Yes, let's do it. Let's piss everybody off by talking about this interview that was not an interview. And so here's what it is. We're going to talk about both parties and both views and how they report on it and how they talk about this whole situation, right?
Right.
So Donald Trump decides to go back to Twitter after all these years, right? And I think his contract with Truth Social probably ended or something.
Okay.
It's funny. I have a Truth Social account. The day it started, I made an account, and I don't think I've ever been back on there. I don't
Who else is on there? Nope.
That's the problem with political-based social media. It's only politics, and that's boring after a while.
Yeah.
You want politics, and then be able to be like, well, I'm bored with it, and go to entertainment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then go to sports, and then go to whatever. So he decides to be like, let me have a Twitter Spaces. That's basically their version of Spoon.
Yeah.
With Elon Musk, and so it starts up. Everyone's excited. People go there, and Spaces is down.
Yeah, 40 minutes of silence.
so 40 minutes of silence, and it was because. Well, there's different accounts. Some people are like, there were hackers. And then other people are like, well, just too many people logged in, into one room.
Right.
It's going to crash. And that makes sense. It's a presidential candidate.
Right.
All this stuff. Not CNN. ABC, they're Disney liberal shills. They were talking so much smack on Elon Musk about how the site went down. They were like, you can't even maintain your own website. Are you sure you know how to run a social media platform? All sorts of shit. They're like, damn, they're low. They are low. And so that's the way the left was reporting it. Eventually, this thing finally kicks off. Now today, Musk is claiming 1 billion listens.
That's wild. Okay.
That's wild.
Okay, that's really wild. Oh,
Yeah.
Look at that.
What?
Oh, no, nothing. Keep talking. It looks like our kick stream came to an end. But anyway, keep going.
Because
As soon as you bring up Trump.
Yeah.
So he claims that 1 billion people were there. Now, the question becomes, were there actually 1 billion people there? I'm going to the thing itself to see how many views. Well, wait, does it get views, listens? Well, how's that work?
I think you can do after listens, right?
Right.
Like YouTube, which is probably why it got its billion. Because remember, people are listening to things all over again. They're just taking clips. They're editing it. That's why they're visiting it. It makes sense in this day and age. Obviously, here's what it is. Anytime a number comes up on content, I don't really believe that many people are really watching.
So, as of today, 5.5 million listens on X, which is not 1 billion, but that's quite a few people, man. 17K retweets or re-X's, whatever you want to call it. 3.8K comments and 85K. So that's better numbers than CNN sees on any given night.
Of course. CNN's done. They just haven't got the memo yet.
So let me ask you this question, man. Did you listen to it? Because I didn't. I assumed you did.
I did.
Okay. What were your takeaways, man? Give me what happened, man.
So it's exactly as I thought it was, but of course, once again, they got to do bad faith legacy media attacks it. And they're like, They're like, Elon Musk is a horrible interviewer. Donald Trump is slurring his words and doesn't make any sense. For starters, Donald Trump made as much sense as he always does. Here's what I'm saying. He's not an eloquent speaker, and he does slur his words normally. That's not senility. That's not being drunk. That's just Donald Trump.
Yeah, no, he's not a great orator. No.
And Elon Musk even said it was a hangout. He advertised it as a hangout. Elon Musk is not an interviewer.
No.
Me and you are better interviewers than Elon Musk. He's just some tech nerd, right? So I don't expect him to ask riveting questions, right?
Right.
So it was really them hanging out, and like for the majority of it, it was Trump reliving the assassination attempt.
Okay. Any policy discussions or anything like that?
So he said a couple of stuff. All of it is all boilerplate and stuff that like I think is like he didn't. I remember he stayed away from abortion. He did say he's like, we're gonna do unprecedented deportations. Wow, that was one thing he said.
Right.
And stuff like that. And then he talked. Have you heard about the whole drama between him and Kamala about waiters and waitresses tips?
No. Oh, yes. I'm up to speed. Kamala Harris stealing one of his policies about not taxing tips. And so this is a crazy thing, man. In preparation for this conversation tonight, I did do some research on that, man. And just like I said last week, right? You just got to be honest about some stuff. He came up with the policy first. The narrative is switched that he was not actually interested in doing this. This was just a rich guy saying something, and it was going to boil down to him screwing over the poor waitresses. But Kamala Harris actually voted as the Senate, the tiebreaker, to tax the waitresses. Now, that is a very shorthand response. Go look it up. She is a deciding vote. And this is the part that just blows my mind. And if we have time, we'll talk about Vivek being on the Breakfast Club, putting in that work yet again, man. And yeah, I'm up to speed on the controversy. I am disappointed that the main talking point from the mainstream media is that he talked bad about Kamala. That's where our politics are at this point. Like, who didn't expect him to talk bad about Kamala?
Yes, right. But here's one thing I've really got to say. This is absolutely truth. For everyone who's saying politics should really be about our policies, I hear you. I'm listening to you. But here's the problem. Kamala Harris doesn't have a policies list on her website, and she has not shown up to any interviews that people have invited her to. Donald Trump continues to go to interviews, yet she does not. So we don't even know what her official policies are. Right. So if anyone is not doing what they're supposed to be doing, playing a clean game, it is Kamala Harris. It isn't Trump this time.
And that's
Trump at least says what he's about.
No, and that's 100% true. We talked about this briefly last week, right before you called me I believe the term was a liberal shill.
Yes, that was it. That's what I accurately called you, I believe.
And I'm the furthest thing from liberal possible. I'm just reasonable, right? But I will give Trump his props, man. He did go in front of the Black Press Association to be grilled by people that hold different views than himself. He has gone places multiple times to have his policies and his own character attacked. And on the Breakfast Club this morning, I think it was this morning, Vivek was back with Charlamagne the God and DJ Envy and some other young lady, not just hilarious, another contributor who I enjoyed the questions she had for Vivek. And this time it was a much better conversation. They weren't cutting him off every 3 seconds, and he was able to flesh out his entire point. But he brought that up. He was like, hey, Kamala Harris has not done any of these things. And Charlamagne started to make a defense why she really shouldn't have to. She's speaking directly to the American people, but she's not actually. She's not actually speaking directly.
She's letting her marketing firm talk to the American people.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about this? You realize what's going on. So I'm sorry for any Democrats or anything. I'm really not trying to insult you or whatever. I try to be respectful to Kamala. She's a sister. She's a good person, I'm sure. But I am sure the Democratic Party told her to shut the fuck up.
Oh, absolutely.
They said, let people project on you what they think you're about. Don't ruin it by speaking.
Yeah, it's her weak point. Her weak point after seeing how she got bodied by that beautiful angel from Hawaii.
Tulsi!
Seeing how she got
My
bodied on that
queen.
debate stage, and you just can't revamp history, even though the mainstream media will never give her, Tulsi, that credit for bodying her in that situation. They know her weak point is an actual conversation and debate. You know, she starts laughing, she gets uncomfortable, she starts doing word salads where she's just like, the meaning is the deeper meaning of the meaning, which is very meaningful. And
Yes.
she goes Ron Burgundy. I will give Trump his credit in this regard. I did not watch this. I did not listen to the spaces, man. And I know exactly based off of what you're reporting, what it was, man. But at least he's willing to get out there and do that, man. He's willing to engage in conversation, bro.
Absolutely. And I gotta say, I also watched the National Association of Black Journalists video. And I have to say, he knew he was gonna get attacked. He knew it. Yeah. He so knew it. And he was still willing to go out there. And he, what I find is literally the epitome of ignorance.
What's that?
Is when he said they're after black jobs, they're taking black jobs, and then all the reporters immediately like, well, what's a black job, you racist? And all this shit. You know what the motherfucker meant, right? You know what the motherfucker meant. You know exactly what he meant. So, and it is true. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, the white man is setting up these migrants to take your jobs. Not a bunch of white person. There's a white person in the suburbs who can sleep easy because it's a black dude who's going to lose a job to a migrant. Not the school teacher in the suburbs. Not a coder who like works in Midtown.
Oh no, they all lost their jobs. Period. Coders are going through a hard time. Go ahead, continue. I'm sorry.
Well, they should learn to frack. Learn to frack.
No, I know exactly what you're saying, but this lends itself to what I was trying to make the point about last week, which is no one's dealing with the actual policy. Yeah, this moron said black jobs, but what he was actually talking about is that the jobs traditionally held by black people who couldn't get a better job. And though those may not be the jobs that most people want to work, these are jobs that are vitally important to those people and their families, right? These are jobs that they're working, which is why I say don't shit on the fast food person, right? You don't know what their story was before punching in at McDonald's, Wendy's, or any of these places. But I remember when the conversational point wasn't even about black jobs, man. Once upon a time, when you and I were younger men, it became, hey, these guys are taking these people who are in need of jobs coming to the country are taking jobs away from our youth. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah.
They were taking the jobs that our kids would typically work in the summertime. And
right. And so basically, one of the reasons why I'm so harsh on illegal immigration, I want to point out illegal immigration. My parents are immigrants, right? So I'm not shitting. I love it how people conflate immigration with illegal immigration. There's a difference.
Right.
But, the influx of illegal immigration, which are usually unskilled workers, it ruins the wages and opportunities for unskilled workers, which means your teenager or, God forbid, someone who dropped out of college, failed out of college, they're having a tough time, they don't have the credentials. All of those people are having a harder time either getting work or having one's work that actually pays you meaningfully.
Right.
Because the larger pool of unskilled workers you have, there's less demand. They can replace you at any minute.
There's the part, right? There's the part right there. Say that again. Unskilled workers. That's the part that people don't want to deal with because it evokes some type of emotional response. Folks, let me just be the one to say it, man. If education is sparse within the inner community, and this is the inner city communities, and we've been having this conversation for years, disadvantaged people, that means these same disadvantaged people have to take jobs that people who do have advantages would never take. Exo facto, when the moron said black jobs, he was talking about disadvantaged people and the jobs they would typically work. But the conversation became about this. And this is my critique on Trump, man. God damn it. I'm sure some nervous intern tried to say, don't say black jobs. Don't say black jobs. I'm going to say black jobs. Don't say black jobs.
No.
Don't say black jobs.
You know what I think really happened? I think the people were prepping and were like, don't say black jobs. Don't, you want to. And he didn't argue them. But he went out there and he's an old man. And you know how old people just say shit. And he's like, you know, you Negroes, when you're smoking your marijuana, that's the type of shit people in their 70s say.
Right.
And so I think he's just like, he probably still uses the word negress or something. You know what I mean? Like,
he better not use the word negress. There's no time in history when the negress was an appropriate word to describe anyone.
I'm just saying, probably says archaic things. So Black House is probably the best thing he could have come up with.
So since we're talking about Trump, man, I want to talk about the fact that his team is doing a better job than he is right now at explaining his policies. Point blank back. Vivek and JD Vance are doing a much better job, man. JD Vance has been putting in that work. Yo, he's
really has.
He's everywhere. He's everywhere
he's
now.
Working, yeah, and I love that Trump finally took a break once JD was on the team. JD started doing a tour, and Trump took like a week off or something.
Yeah,
he's constantly jumping from like rally to court appearance to rally to court appearance. Let me ask you, this offended me from JD Vance. How do you feel about his policies? Do you know about what he personally feels? Trump isn't into it. About the rights of parents and all that stuff. He believes that as a parent, you should pay less in taxes, which you already do, and you should have more votes than someone who is childless.
Okay. I can't believe you're going to make me defend JD Vance on this policy. Until proven otherwise, right? He said that you should not have as much power in the government, right? Our country should not be run by so many people who, in his estimation, by not having children, don't have a vested interest, as deep a vested interest in the future of this country.
But I have a vested interest in the future of this country, whether I have kids or not.
But you see, here's the thing. You see what just happened there, right? He doesn't have an official policy on the table to say.
Right. That's what I'm saying. He can't do it because he has to follow Trump's official policy.
But there was no policy. He said that it's being run by liberal cat ladies, right? And now this is the problem when you use hyperbole.
Whoa! No, you're putting words into my mouth. I never said it was the policy. I never said it was his policy or anything like that. I'm just saying he believes. My statement was he believes.
But that's not even what he believes. What he actually believes. What he believes. No, we got to judge the man on what he said, right? That's what we're doing. We got to judge the man on what he actually said. He feels like there are too many people in power that don't have as deep a vested interest. So, do I agree with it? It was the question? No, I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm not going to let the man be lambasted by psychopaths on the internet. You know, I thought the cat lady thing was a cold bar. And according to your worldview, that's hot. That's sexy. So that's, it's all fair, right? It's all fair. Bro.
It is all fair. It is absolutely all fair.
As long as it's sexy, it gets the people going.
Okay, so this is not a video. This is not a video. This is an article.
Okay, go ahead.
But it says, if Senator J.D. Vance, a Republican from Ohio, were merely a pro-family politician, no one would bat an eye. Helping parents with the difficult and important work of raising children is a bipartisan goal, even if Democrats and Republicans may disagree on how best to do it. But as usual, Donald Trump's running mate couldn't help himself. By now, most people have heard about J.D. Vance's attacks on childless cat ladies. It wasn't a stray remark. Vance has repeatedly expressed his disdain for those with childless sociopaths, whom he argues don't have a direct stake in our country. But It isn't just rhetoric. Vance has proposed sweeping policy changes to the political and economic status of parents and non-parents. Taken together, they reveal a particularly selfish perspective on politics, as though we all view policy choices through our narrow self-interest. Beginning with taxes, if you are making $100,000 to $400,000 a year, Vance said in a 2021 interview, and you've got 3 kids, you should pay a different, lower tax rate than if you're making the same amount of money and you don't have any kids at all. It's that simple.
Fire. Absolute fire. Absolute
Well,
fire.
So the reason why I brought the article up is not that anyone was disbelieving. I want to make it clear that it wasn't just his cat lady comments. He believes this.
But here's what's different than what's being proposed, my friend. You also said at the beginning of this that they should have a lesser vote. You said that. You absolutely said that. Now, according to you said that, and that's what.
That.
So, according to what you said to me last week, you are now a liberal shill because there is no way legally, even if he wanted to, he could instate that. The last time that someone with a family had a lesser vote was when the man of the house was the vote, and that was in line with the fact that if the father was voting, he was voting on behalf of the entire household, assuming that the wife was in line with his political views. What's happening is JD
Why do
Vance,
they have votes?
That's between you and God. That's between you and God, bro. But here's the thing, man. What JD Vance has come out and said multiple times after this, man, is that the country is being run on the left by people who do not have a vested interest. How do you, as a conservative, take that as a personal attack if you know it's geared towards the left?
Because I don't have children.
Okay.
Apparently, I'm a cat dad, right?
You are a cat dad.
I'm a pathetic cat dad.
You are a cat dad.
A childless cat dad.
But wait, bro, you're breaking your own cardinal rule right now. You shouldn't be talking about this shit in public, right? You should
at the end of the day.
Hold on. You should have hit me on the side because right now it's about getting our guy in, isn't it? Isn't that what you said last week?
It is, and I'll tell you right now. Trump has my vote and my support, absolutely, 100%. I just think JD is a little out of touch.
Here's what I think, man. I've listened to this man revise this statement a few times, man. And in regards to the liberal, crazy cat women that he was talking about, I could see how that was a cold shot. But he wasn't talking about people who cannot have children, right? He wasn't talking about people that are unable to have children. He's talking about people who are attacking the nuclear family, which I'm sorry to say is the future of this country, man.
I agree.
It is the future of this country. And if you are putting in place policies based off of a worldview that has no experience or any vested interest in preserving the family, then, you might be a crazy cat lady. For instance, right? If your policies attack the bottom line of the American middle class, the very families that you're taxing into non-existence, but you yourself are Nancy Pelosi doing an interview during COVID time, showing us how much ice cream you have in your refrigerator, right?
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's funny, and of course, I am vested, and I clearly do believe that nuclear families are the future, and I agree with Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah.
They are the best. They are the best tool for a million different things, right?
Yeah.
Educating your children, maintaining society, keeping democracy afloat. You need the nuclear family. I'm absolutely into it. But JD probably thinks that I'm some crack smoking cat dad who's going to drive this country off a cliff just because I never knocked up a bitch. Who decided to keep it.
Again, man, you're breaking your own rules. You're personalizing this, man. Don't let the emotions of the liberal sentiment come out of your vagina. Stay in line. Get Trump in.
I was about to say something emotional in truth, but then you made the vagina comment, so fuck you. I'm saying, you know what? Maybe I am annoyed that he made fun of the childless. Maybe us childless people don't like being childless.
No, but he didn't make fun of you. He made fun of childless, liberal, power-hungry mongers. Why you're not on that side of the table? You're supposed to be on this side of the table going, oh!
At first I was like, wait, what did you just say? What did this motherfucker just say? Him picking JD Vance sealed my vote for Trump. He's the only senator that cares about the forgotten man / blue collar man. I agree with you on that. JD Vance is great on a million things. I absolutely agree. I'm teasing him on this thing. I did take personal offense to it. However, that's not stopping me from voting for them. I do think that JD Vance really is a good man who is trying to look out for blue collar workers.
I got no beef with the man. I wish he wasn't the vice president prick. I think Vivek would have been a much better pick, man. But I think JD Vance is putting in the work, and that's where I wanted to talk about that for a second. Him going out and doing these media tours, following Kamala around wherever she lands and saying, why won't your vice president engage with the press? And then watching the press, who are obviously in cahoots, talking about MSNBC, CNN, and all these places. Not the only person on CNN that actually had the balls to say something about this was that chick SE Cup, and she was like, if this was any other candidate doing this, we would be tearing them up for avoiding questions from the press.
Right. Imagine if Trump didn't talk. Like, that would be crazy. He'd be crucified every day. Matt says, I'm sorry, but I don't want the Grace Randolphs of the world running our government.
Can we talk about Ann Coulter for a second?
Absolutely. Real quick. Mantis, you still have time? Men can have kids anytime. And so it's so funny. My dear friend at church, Nicole, she's got 3 children. She's married, all this stuff. She's from the South, though. She's from Alabama. And she says to me in that cute Southern accent, she's just like, yo, Lucky. She's like, if I were a man, I would wait till I'm 55 and just knock up some 20-year-olds. she says that's what I should do. And this is a friend from church.
God bless Alabama, man. God bless Alabama. Ann Coulter. Remember you and I had a private conversation where I was like, Ann Coulter, this is after she told Vivek that she wouldn't vote for him because he was Indian. And she has a lineage policy in regards to who should be able to run for a candidacy, like especially an office as high as president in America. That is a surmised version of what she actually said. She recently came out and said something that just got everyone up in arms in a good way and a bad way. And
this woman, man.
Your boy Amazing Lucas is how I found out about this. You obviously know Amazing Lucas has made a switch from being, he used to be a conservative commentator, and now he's gone over to the other side. And shout out to him. If you change your political position and you can explain it, that's your right? But he is firmly planted in the FBA community. If you don't know what that's an acronym for, that means Foundational Black American. If you don't know what that means blacks that were born in this country who are
trying to kill you.
Who are direct descendants of the transatlantic slave trade that landed here in North America.
True African Americans.
True African Americans. And so if you're not familiar with what FBA wants, they don't want anyone else. One of the things they feel is if reparations are given, you have to be able to prove that you are a descendant of an American slave to get reparations. Ann Coulter coming out talking about Kamala Harris had some things to say about it. I sent you the video if you want to see it. And it's weird because it's getting some traction with the FBA community. And Amazing Lucas was like, please don't fall for the okie dokie. He even went as far as to say some of you guys are like those seagulls from Finding Nemo. As soon as someone says something positive they're gonna do for FBA, you all pop out of nowhere like FBA. It's pretty. We're not allowed to play Amazing Lucas videos on here, unfortunately.
No, we're not.
It's the one thing that's banned from Fanboy Modeling School. I don't understand it.
And you have vetoes too. If you want to veto anybody,
I believe in free speech.
Well, I don't. This is my show. You basically, you know why. You know why I have an issue with this dude, right?
You think he's a race grifter?
I do. Because he flip-flopped back and forth between his politics. So, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes he's like, I'm a black conservative. This is cool. He was running that for a couple of years, and now he's just like, I'm a black man, and real black men don't vote Republican. I'm like, yo, this guy is folding some shit right now.
Well, wait, you know the backstory on that, right? He had made his way into the inner rooms of the black conservative commentary circle, right? And he felt as if though there was a wild inconsistency when it came to dealing with police brutality issues and other issues concerning black people. That as long as you stayed on code as a black conservative, you were in. The minute you brought up something that he thought was a valid point in regards to bringing more black voters in the conservative party and like, hey, we have to deal with this, then you were met with all types of pushback and shenanigans.
He probably has some truth to that. There's probably like a lot of valid stuff going on, and you know, man, you know what? I'll give him a reevaluation maybe. but by the way, guys, if you want to see a real racist, we're about to play Ann Coulter. Now, as you know, I am a moderate leaning conservative.
Right.
I listen to a lot of conservative YouTubers and content creators. However, this one particular woman has said some shit that has just eaten away at my skin, and I think she's a lowlife. But
well,
so
have you before you play it? Ann Coulter has one of the greatest Boondocks representations ever, man. They made Ann Coulter out to be the type of like in camera, she's a racist. Behind camera, she's like, yo, what's up, my N-word? Like she loves black people. And I've told you before, she has a strange affinity with the black American community. And you're gonna see that right now. So go ahead and click play.
Real quick, Matt Cat says Ann Coulter is really great. I read all of her books. They're great. Okay, cool. D, welcome in. How are you?
Welcome in, D.
We love D. So let's see what she has to say.
Palm Beach is columnist, author, and political commentator Ann Coulter. Ms. Coulter, who are you going to vote for in this election?
It's a crazy question.
Well, Donald Trump, because if he loses, he will be running again in 4 years. And then he will have lost 4 successive elections for us. And you know, truthfully, I really like his choice of J.D. Vance, which I had recommended back in May. Can't trust Trump as far as I can throw him, but I do trust J.D. Vance to care about the left behind people.
Well, just to give people an update, in 2018, you wrote a book called In Trump We Trust, E Pluribus Awesome. What happened?
No, that was 2016. That was the campaign.
Sorry about that. What happened?
Yeah. Well, he didn't keep any of his promises. And by the way, it's a great book. I stand by the book. I wish Republican politicians would read it. I gave a copy to some of my favorite Republicans, and, you know, inscribed it, but you have to actually do it. I do think the 2016, Trump campaign, it was one of the greatest campaigns in world history, and in part because it really changed the Republican Party to a party I preferred, and that is, instead of just lots of permanent, useless foreign wars and tax cuts, it was about, well, 3 things: immigration, trade, no more pointless foreign wars. And I've been waiting to vote for that basket of issues, it feels like my entire life. Also, just a lot of the things, not talking about your family. Please drop the family biographies. Please stop invoking Ronald Reagan. He was president, you know, a million years ago. The world looked different then. So all of these, and I'm optimistic, that thing that they all got, I guess, from Reagan. And I pointed out that, no, when Reagan ran in 1980, he was very far from optimistic. He was viciously attacking Jimmy Carter. No one wants to know about your family. Stop with that crap. And the up from the bootstrap stories, you know, the John Kasich with the postman father and Rubio with the bartender. Can you please just tell us what you're going to do for the country? And so I loved, you know, Trump coming out and saying, yeah, I'm rich and I'm going to fix the country. But the main reason, and if you read the book, by the way, I make it very clear that personally Trump is an awful person. We are making an exception this one time because we need a wall on the border.
Do you know him at all?
I had met him in New York. I grew up in Connecticut, so I sort of followed him in the tabloids.
Yo, look at her. She just said, don't give us your backstory, your family story, you grew up in blah, blah, blah. And she's giving it.
But she's talking about politicians.
Was not a big fan, as I think very few people in Connecticut are. Not really our style. But, you know, when he was the only Republican running in 2016. I sent many of them copies of my previous book, Adios America, which I highly recommend. You know, apparently it'll never go out of style because the voters will keep saying we want less immigration and the politicians will keep giving us more immigration. He was the only one. In my very first interview, it was in Miami with Jorge Ramos.
Real quick, I gotta interrupt this chick. And so, so she said he's a horrible person. You know, she's pointing out Trump's a horrible person. She's like, this is the one exception, this is the one time. And so I'm gonna do a counter argument right now. And so it is, she is wrong. She's an idiot. We all know she's an idiot. But what I'm saying, she's actually very tame in this interview right now. But here's what it is: you should always vote for the policies that are good for you and your life, regardless of whether someone's a scumbag. So my argument is that if it's Donald Trump, and even after like all the successive politicians you ever vote for are scumbags, they cheat on their wives, they hit on teenage girls, they freaking spend money too much, they don't speak in good grammar, they're low lives, they cheat on shit, they cheat on their wives and other games, still vote for them. That's the only logical. You know why? Their morals of who they are and the characters means literally nothing. This is a transaction. They want your vote, and you want them to do something for you.
Right.
So my argument to everybody is it doesn't matter if someone's a scumbag. It doesn't matter if somebody's saying horrible things on the mic and they're like, blah, 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 I'm a sexist, I'm an asshole. I don't really care. I don't care if someone's a drunken swine who's been married 6 times, you know, he's mean to his kids or whatever. If he's going to give me what I want, that's who you have to vote for.
Yeah, I think that's also the point she's making in regards to like why she was going to vote for Trump, because immigration is a huge issue for Ann Coulter, and immigration is just a huge issue in general. We're talking about illegal immigration and things of that nature. I didn't realize this is 47 minutes, so I don't have it timestamped. But eventually she's going to go on to talk about Kamala Harris and talk about Trump questioning her ethnicity and calling into question whether or not he's black. And this is what's perked up the ears for some FBA members, is that they feel like Ann Coulter is actually addressing an issue, which is, and I've heard a good friend say that, you know, we got to gatekeep blackness a little bit, or at least the African-American lineage. I just find it, what's really, really odd is the weaponization of it, right? It's it's not relevant until it's relevant, right? And Ann Coulter, like I said before, man, she has a strange affinity and she has her own policies in regards to what gets you to the highest office, man. And yeah, if you want to skip ahead, go ahead, bro.
Oh, you know I am. But yo, you know how I feel about gatekeeping blackness.
A book or have a new book out, and this is
a year or two, every single girl in line was wearing a cross. So within a year or two, I thought, okay, my job is done. Madonna drove the cross out, and I brought it back. But now I think my work is complete on that. I do sometimes still wear the cross, but I like jewelry. I wear other necklaces too.
In a recent
rights to freedom of contract, freedom of association. Hey, have you noticed Indians are getting all the good diversity jobs?
Oh, there we go.
What do we do?
Man, there we go. Rewind it.
Slave them. Most of these immigrants coming in, most are from 90% into just anti-white hatred. Load of immigrants.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Now, demagoguery and also in Adios America about immigration. And that is the important point he should have made is that the entire purpose of affirmative action, set-asides, civil rights laws that limit constitutional rights to freedom of contract, freedom of association, all of that was to make up for the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow. So unless these benefits are going to, you know, roughly defined, foundational black Americans, the descendants of American slaves, you've taken away the whole purpose of this. Right. And that is exactly what's happened once we got this huge load of immigrants.
Okay, you know what? She makes oh, wow, she made a really good point right there.
There we go.
and she's saying that, you know, affirmative action was there to offset slavery. And so if it's not there to only help people who fundamental black Americans, right? People who actually have descended from slaves. Then what is the point if it's helping other groups and other people who didn't experience that?
Right.
And so she is making a strong point right now.
It's
Even though it sounds like she's a racist, she's
it's an uncomfortable talking point because I had a conversation once with a very, 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 very extremely arrogant person from the continent of Africa, right? And we were talking about things like the civil rights movement, affirmative action, and he was against both those things. And I was like, I find that to be an interesting point and a position for you to take, seeing as how you've benefited greatly, whether you know it or not, from the civil rights movement in America, where you currently reside, and you don't even know that you have, right? Forget about how so many African Americans spoke out against apartheid in your own country, right? Your own country of origin. You benefit directly from the forebears of African Americans who live here today, who have worked and helped to build this country to a place where you could even sit here and say what you're saying. So, put some respect on it. And if the social programs aren't for African Americans, then they shouldn't be for anyone. Now, bear in mind, this was also a person who'd been on food stamps, Mantis, received government assistance. And I'm just like, how dare you, sir? How dare you?
on the government teat.
Yeah. How dare you? How dare you?
Oh my God. But let's see if she has any more wisdom to spit.
A Thai who arrived on Wednesday will get an advantage applying to college, applying to corporations over a heterosexual white male in particular. That's the biggest hate group, but any white American. And all of the civil rights laws have been, and affirmative action and so on, have been twisted into just anti-white hatred and open, egregious discrimination. So to make the point that Kamala isn't a foundational black American, I'm always pointing out to black people, hey, have you noticed Indians are getting all the good diversity jobs? What did we do to Indians? We didn't enslave them. I mean, most of these immigrants coming in, most are from 90% of legal immigrants are from the third world.
She's cooking, even though she likes walking that tightrope, right? She likes walking the tightrope. My favorite, here's what it is. I don't normally like that show Scrubs, but I remember one of the funniest jokes I've ever seen. But that Scrubs, that's comedy about the medical
industry,
whatever. Yeah. And so this old woman gets hurt and she goes to the ER and her doctor's Indian and she goes, I said I want the best doctor. I want a Jewish doctor. And the guy says to her, I'm Indian. We're the new Jews. And it's true, man. They really are.
Wildly appropriate.
And mostly we've just run around saving them from earthquakes and tornadoes and coups and starvation. They owe us. We don't owe them. But to switch from the concept of integration and civil rights for black Americans to this BS-y diversity, it's nothing but discrimination against white people. And that point should be made not just to, as I think Trump is always thinking, oh, he's going to win the black vote. He's not going to win the black vote. You ought to do things because they're the right thing to do, not because this is an appeal to black people, like releasing criminals. He thinks he's going to get the black vote by being soft on crime. Anyway, not only to point out to black Americans.
So here's the thing, and once again, this is why a woman who doesn't understand shit, and I'm not saying women don't understand this, but a person who doesn't understand stuff. It is Donald Trump's goal not to be a nice guy, but to win votes, and so he should do whatever it takes to win himself votes. Just as Democrats do the same thing. It's illogical to do something and say, you know what? This could get me votes, but I'm not going to do it because it's not true to who I am.
So here's the thing, and that's exactly why J.D. Vance attacked a bunch of crazy non-children having liberals that are trying to change the family dynamic, and that was to garner votes amongst the MAGA to let them know, I'm one of you. I'm one.
Right. Right.
So for all you shabby cat owning sons of bitches,
leave my fucking cats out of this. You leave my goddamn cats out of this.
I know we don't have much time, man. Do you want to talk about your favorite country, London, being torn apart by
the actual title of our show? Yo, honestly, let's talk about it. What are your thoughts? What's going on? Are these guys racists?
So this all starts, or I want to say this started a while ago prior to what people think the inception is. 2 young ladies, 2 children were killed recently in London. I want to say it's two young girls, and they were killed. I'm not going to remix history here, man. And they were killed by someone who was born in London, but the narrative started that person was Islamic immigrant. And that has to do very much with what the protests are about, is that London is facing the same type of issues that people feel like we're facing here in America, where there are more immigrants. Policies are being impacted by the amount of immigrants, and certain things are infringing upon the natural born citizens. What's happening, though, is that they are out in the streets right now, looking very much like the George Floyd protests / riots, and shit's getting funky over there, man. It's getting real funky.
And I'll tell you this right now. People love to cite that America is racist and bad and all this crap. And I don't think that the rioters are, but you know what it is? America's pretty white, but we are not nearly as white as the fucking UK.
Oh, the UK used to be white. This is what they're saying.
What I'm saying is they are enraged. So we are light years ahead in terms of understanding other cultures and letting other cultures in us than, say, the UK. Now, I'm not trying to write these people off as bigots or racists or whatever the BBC is trying to label them as.
Oh yeah.
The BBC is evil. English cops are evil. Here's what I said. You know how, like, I'm pro-American cop. I'm like, they're hardworking. Obviously, the bad ones need to be either arrested or thrown off the force, but most cops are just here to help us, blah, blah. You know, that's Mantis's take on it. However, in the UK, they're all fucking animals, and I wish horrible things on them.
So I sent you a video, and we played a lot of videos, but I felt like it would be a great night for us to watch some videos, get back to some fanboy after dark. The last one is from a gentleman by the name of What Do You Meme? He is a Christian commentator, but I think he does a great job at being Christian and reporting on things accurately as they were. So he's going to give us what's going on, and I'll leave it for you fine folk to decide what you think. As usual, your boy Steve is just here to help you navigate these rough waters.
Yeah, you are here to cause havoc and chaos in people's lives, make them question things they feel they already understand, and ultimately feel angry and get angry at the end of it.
So here's the thing you should know about me, folks, right? I will remember what you say, right? I will always remember what you say, and eventually I'm going to call you to task for your worldview. So if that causes chaos, then yeah.
But he's good at misquoting.
Consequences of misinformation are becoming more apparent day by day. And the recent discussion between Andrew Tate and Piers Morgan on the riots in the UK only goes to highlight just how bad it really is. If you haven't seen what's been going on in the UK right now, violent protests are spreading all across the UK following the tragic stabbing of 3 girls at a Taylor Swift event on July 29th. And almost immediately after it happened, people online were claiming that the person who is alleged to have committed the crime was a Muslim immigrant, and this was the spark that set a fire to an already growing tension going on right now over issues surrounding immigration.
When he was actually born in the UK, but the son of immigrants.
Yeah, and he was black.
Wait, hold on. It doesn't mean he wasn't radicalized. I just want to point that out. You can be radicalized in a Western country. You could grow up in Oklahoma and still want to blow up Oklahoma. You know,
D's got it right. Steve does not forget anything you said. And remember, if you ever hear me say this tagline, you asked for this. Just know that
we didn't ask for this, and this is just his justification for being a prick.
And I'm going to give you God's good work. based off of our conversation.
Battlefield protests that quickly descended into violence towards the police, the burning of buildings and government vehicles, alleged attacks directed to people of different ethnicities, and even the mass looting of local stores. All of this sounds similar to the BLM riots that took place in America in 2020, although this time the far right is being accused of starting the violence rather than the far left. And also similar to America, there's been groups that are responding to the violence with violence, which are basically like their equivalent to Antifa. Now, since all of this has started, the chaos hasn't slowed down, but instead only has spread further and further across the UK. At the time of this recording, there's said to be 20 riot-related events and 3 counter gatherings planned for today,
I didn't know
with thousands of officers on standby. Now, something that's really interesting is that the mainstream media is by far and large accusing Tommy Robinson of leading these attacks, and they're also accusing him of spreading the misinformation that fueled them.
A lot of this is being instigated online, and probably the most influential instigator for all is Tommy Robinson.
It's a political...
I want to interject something real quick.
Yeah.
The thought process, here's what it is. There's a lot of people who are scared of misinformation and disinformation, and they're like, oh no, what if one person lies and it spreads and the world goes crazy? And to be honest, that is a total fable. That is not reality. That is never how it happens. Right. And it almost never does. And so here's what I'm saying. Obviously, this guy, I know about this guy. And so I know he exacerbates certain situations. He exaggerates certain ones. He's spot on in others. But the idea that he tells one lie and the lie created 20 riot scenes throughout England is just a fallacy. It's ridiculous. The truth is, those people were ready to riot.
Okay, I'll give you
that. They were ready to riot, and they're looking for an excuse to riot.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that. I do think what is extremely dangerous, and this is just me, but I'll die on this hill, man. One repeated lie that is supported by an infrastructure that is using that lie for their means can be extremely dangerous. And we've seen that throughout history. When propaganda is turned into a woeful lie and then spun multiple times in front of the public eye, yes, there are people who are definitely ready to riot. But then there are people who are on the fence and they will not do their due diligence and research the narrative that's being pushed in front of them. We see this in American politics, right? We saw that with Trump's first campaign, where everyone said that Trump said that every illegal immigrant coming over is a rapist and a murderer, when he said, no, there are rapists and murderers coming over.
Right.
So, it swings both ways, man.
Insurgency. That's what we're seeing. It's been coordinated by a man who's just fled England. A man who can't even be here because he's a criminal.
These outlets are also blaming Elon Musk for saying that civil war is inevitable, while also accusing him of spreading dangerous and false information as well. But we'll come back to all of this. Now, though all of this chaos followed the attack on the little girls, this wasn't the sole start of it. The attack was clearly just the last straw, as the tension has been brewing for people who are worried about immigration and the Islamic-inspired terrorism that's come from some of it. But here's where we see just how big of an issue misinformation really is. Piers Morgan just had Andrew Tate on the show to absolutely drill him for not only appearing to incite the protests, but also for supposedly spreading misinformation on Twitter before going on to blame him for this.
The reason these riots are happening in the first place is because everybody's afraid to talk. I'm prepared to sit down with somebody I don't like and don't agree with.
That's complete nonsense.
To talk to Tommy.
That's nonsense. The reason the riots are happening is people like you and Tommy Robinson have been spewing utter disinformation.
Which was pretty much the ongoing theme of their conversation. I do agree with Pierce that people with millions of followers choosing to carelessly spread potentially false information without even doing the slightest bit of research is a very big problem. However, interestingly enough, Pierce also seems to be guilty of this when he says this.
You have boxed yourself into a position now where your own Muslim community in the UK are enraged with you because they believe you are siding with Tommy Robinson, who is leading a far-right series of attacks on Muslims and mosques and is being blatantly Islamophobic in the process. And you know that.
And here's where it becomes even more clear just how big of a problem this really is. I've been loosely keeping up with Tommy Robinson since about 2018, and personally, I haven't ever heard him endorse violence, and most certainly don't think it's fair to accuse him of being the leader of the violence going on right now in Britain, despite the mainstream media constantly accusing him of doing so. In reality, he's been extremely vocal telling people not to fight with violence.
Now, I'll be saying to anyone, I know there's a protest night in London. Lads, you've got to remain calm. Bring the numbers, bring the noise, but don't bring any violence, man. Peace, love, our country is in the gutter. We ain't gonna win it back by throwing a few rocks at coppers.
And to make matters worse, Tommy has stated that this misinformation has led people to start sending him messages like this in his inbox. And here's the thing, I don't believe that Pierce accused Tommy of leading the riots intentionally, but instead, I assume that he was doing what most of us do. He accepted what he heard without careful consideration because of his preconceived political biases and his personal dislike for Tommy.
Well, also, I just think mainstream media, which is usually liberal, they are taught to attack certain people and certain ideas, and they want to shut down anything. And one of the things that they hate, this is why they love saying that people are spreading misinformation or disinformation when you're a content creator. You know why? Legacy media doesn't like the idea that you can have 1 million followers and influence people. I wish I had the video right now, but I have to do research. I literally caught a CNN anchor say, this guy thinks that he can influence people. That's our job.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right? This dumb bitch, right? And it's like, are you fucking... That's how crazy and out of it she is. She didn't realize how blatant she was about it. But what it is, legacy media thinks it's all right to enrage us to the point where, well, let's say we do something like we hate a certain candidate. They want to manipulate us to that level. However, if you were to do it with your 1 million followers, oh, you're wrong and evil.
Well,
your
yeah,
misinformation, your disinformation, whichever one they're using this week.
Yeah, and then they don't want any culpability in creating a narrative that led to potentially, a person dying, a man dying. Doesn't matter what his lifestyle or his political views were. He died in front of his family, protecting his family from a bullet because a shooter thought they were taking out the next Adolf Hitler. And I agree with you 100%, man. My issue is just this, man. There are certain jobs and stations in life where I feel as if though you have to be a moral person, right? And for me, the press, what it represents, and I don't know, maybe it never was this thing, and maybe I'm just looking at it through the lens of history, right? You are supposed to be reporting the news, the facts, the events as they happen chronologically, actually happen. It was never supposed to become this think piece thing where it's like entertainment, right? You have more contributors on CNN and on Fox, and you have actual anchors. You have more people giving thoughts and opinions than you have people reporting on factual events. And I think that the news, why I enjoy Breaking Points? That's Sakara, and I always forget the young lady's name, man, because she's left-leaning, he's a classical conservative. But by the time they get through reporting the news, you know what I get out of watching their podcast, Mantis? I get a fully formed view of what these two people think based off of the facts and what they're reporting versus a narrative. It's like, hey, this is what happened. This is what's going on. Hell, man, I didn't know Ukraine invaded Russia until I turned on a freaking podcast the other day, and I'm like, holy shit.
Right. Yeah, that's funny. I get... here's what it is. I do watch mainstream media, and my family every morning has liberal shill media on, and I love being able to watch it because later on I'll go to my news sources, things I find on X and other podcasts and various things, and it's interesting to see the difference and to see what's going on. And you have to, but you really have to be careful that you have to be a news consumer. You have to do a lot of research. You can't just take one channel and be like, well, I'm on ABC, and ABC says you're a bad man, so there it goes. No, you have to do research and see what's going on. You also have to factor in why they're saying this.
Yeah, what's the profit to gain? Exactly.
And you see that, and trust me, BBC has a lot of reason to shut down Tommy Robinson. They have a lot of reason to shut down what's his face, Tate. Even though I'm not a huge Tate fan,
right.
I will fight for his ability to speak. I will fight for his ability to be a content creator with a lot of people. He's allowed. Here's what it is. He's allowed to influence people by the rights in in terms of America. He has the right to be that person. But the legacy media wants to take that from these guys.
Yeah, well, the viewership, even for instance, like, so Joe Rogan, the MAGA community has had a falling out with him based on him not even endorsing RFK, just saying,
just said RFK is kind of cool.
Yeah, said some kind words, and even Matt Walsh was reporting on this, man, and it's just like people are so planted firmly in the side that they're on that you can't critique the candidate, right? And he didn't even critique Trump. All he said was, "This is a guy." And all of us, but look, this is a guy like Rogan, man, who's platformed before Elon Musk. He was platforming conservative pundits, man. He was allowing these people to come on.
He will continue to do it.
Yeah.
That's because he believes in freedom of speech and freedom of expression, and that's why we should really thank God for Joe Rogan and Elon Musk, because you know what? Elon Musk isn't a Republican either. That's another thing we need to realize. He just platforms them. He just believes in their right to be platformed.
Yeah, absolutely. My guy, I think we went all over today, man. Did you have a good time?
I did. I wanted to watch a little more of this video.
Go for it, man.
Let's see. I don't want to keep you too
Us are hyper skeptical when we hear things coming from the other side. But when it comes to people on our own side, we're more than willing to be overly charitable. Similar to just how quickly so many of us assumed male boxer Iman Khalif identified as transgender, we were willing to assume this without evidence because it fit into our political narratives that have been such a big concern for us here in the US. And the same issue seems to have happened in this situation when it comes to the person who committed the initiating attack in the UK, which instigated all of these riots. People were very quick to assume that it was a Muslim immigrant who committed the attack due to his Islamic beliefs. However, it turns out that the person that allegedly committed the attack is actually not an immigrant, nor is he a Muslim. Currently, it appears that he was born in Britain, proclaimed belief in Christianity, and his parents moved to the UK from Rwanda. This misinformation about the attacker, while not the source of the riots, definitely led to the start of the riots. And the reason that this apparent misinformation spread so quickly was because of just how easily it is for us to fit these sorts of events into the binary takes of topics that so many of us believe today. Now, when the world's guilty of this, I don't like it, but there's not much that I can do about it. But when it comes to Christians spreading false information, Christians should separate ourselves from the world by following the advice of James when he says that we should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. And if I'm honest, most of us are not quick to listen, nor slow to speak, and we're not slow to become angry. And when we miss the mark on this, then we're prone to spread false information. And don't get me wrong, we're all going to get it wrong sometimes, since false information is getting so much harder to detect. But we should also take seriously the command from Paul to put aside falsehood and speak truthfully to our neighbor. We should be lovers of truth and work harder to avoid spreading false information, especially information that can lead to things that we see going on right now in the UK. Now, if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and hit the like button on your way out, and then go ahead and check out this video.
Yeah, I know, you did really good.
Man, it's like, I'm not hitting anything. I'm out.
It's our show. They got to pay us to advertise. So we're not even going to tell you who this brother is. We don't even know who he is. We're doing our own thing.
No, he always does a really great job of breaking down stuff. And I thought that was a very good, poignant way to really break it down. For me personally, man, it's the misinformation thing, I would rather call it misrepresentation, because it is misrepresentation. I'm always going to be a huge proponent of critique them for what they said and what they actually did versus what you heard they did on Facebook, right? And that's got to go across both sides, man. And we just get back to love and truth, Mantis. I want to bring you back to truth, man. No sensationalism.
What the fuck does that mean? Bring me back. I'm not in truth. I don't live in truth.
No sensationalism. No politics screaming out crazy stuff about you and all that type of stuff. Say it to my face, right? Politicians shouldn't have rappers.
Donald Trump is gonna cure America. All you other motherfuckers are the disease.
He won't demand.
Matt Cat wants to know what's the name of the guy we just watched.
What do you meme? His name's what do you meme?
And
Spelled.
that's so weird. He's a Christian and he's what do you meme?
Yeah, well, his whole channel started off as a way to utilize meme culture and examine meme culture, and then he got into really deep commentary. And then I as his career continued, I was like, man, he's had some stinkers with some of my other favorite theologians, but he's always put out, recently he's been putting out very meaningful commentary. I really enjoy him, man. Fair and consistent.
He's all right. You had a good time today?
I did have a good time today, man. It's a shame that I have to spoil my good time with a thing like work. Maybe these socialists are on to something, man. I should just get paid to exist. Or if all you fine folks would just share this channel with everyone you know, and if there's 1,000 of them and they all subscribe at the same time, then we can get monetized. And then me and Mantis can split 5.08% every week.
Yes, please. I'm tired of working. It's so lame. Oh man, it's so hurtful to my vibe. I'm trying to mellow here, bro. It's a vibe. I'm trying to maintain. I had an amazing time. I loved all the learning. I love all the bickering. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I just got to say this: Jesus is Lord.
Correct.
And if you're not following him, I don't know what's up with you.
Correct.
But please check him out.
Yeah, give him a like, give him a follow, give him
a like and a follow. Won't you give Jesus a like and a follow, please?
Sacrilege. What do you got going on at Burn Your Degree this week, man? What are you doing to fundamentally question the existence of Western culture?
Well, I was actually going to do an episode. This was Sunday on Burn Your Degree, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Sunday on Riz Radio, about claims of Kamala's blackness. So we're going to be talking about both sides. Don't worry. I'm not going to be a bigot or like, whatever you're expecting. It's going to be a fun journey, and to experience it, you have to be there. So please check it out.
Mic check. We took another, the home of adult contemporary hip hop. I'm pushing this, man. I'm pushing the adult contemporary hip hop thing, man. We premiered some new dope tracks. We're going to get back into that this Sunday. And maybe we'll talk a little bit more about Ricky Rose not being a friend to the disabled community. I don't know if you're up to speed on.
Didn't you already do a thing on this?
I did, but I just like talking about Ricky Rose and his many failings.
Well, I mean, the handicap are questionable people, so maybe that's a good reason. Who knows? To get the answer, you have to tune into Riz Radio on this Sunday?
This Sunday, man. This
Sunday at 10 to 2 a.m. Eastern Standard. You can find us on Live 365 or wherever internet radio is found. Hit us up. We would love to talk to you. Until next time, Fanboy Modeling School is out.
Ciao
for now. Bitches.